Destination Crenshaw was presented to this community as a transformational investment in Black culture, Black commerce, and the future of South Los Angeles. It has now been 6 years since the project broke ground and over 2 years since the promised completion date. Construction has stalled with no apparent end date in sight. The Crenshaw Corridor community embraced the vision of Destination Crenshaw, but the obstruction from the delayed construction has caused prolonged health and safety hazards, uncertainty, reduced customer access, declining revenues, disruptions, and mounting financial hardship. A broad spectrum of the community expressed their frustration over these delays and the impact they have had on the community at a standing room only July 30th town hall at Bethesda Temple Church, widely covered by the media, including ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC. The burden of these unexplained delays should not rest on the shoulders of the Crenshaw Corridor community, which acted in good faith and supported this historic project. If the city fails to provide a complete and substantive response to this correspondence within 30 days of the date of this letter, the Crenshaw Corridor community reserves its right to pursue all of its rights and remedies. Sincerely, the Crenshaw Corridor community. To read the complete letter detailing all of our demands, go to our website at kbla1580.com. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Until the philosophy which old one race superior and another inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned. Everywhere is war. It's a war that until they're no longer first class and second class citizens of any nation, until the color of a man's skin is of no more significance than the color of his eyes. Miss a war.
KBLA Talk 1580. War to the east, war to the west. That's where we are right now in the world. A lot of it has to do with the United States of America, I fear. And I have someone in the studio that can help us with that and other issues. He's a longtime publisher, Viet Nam vet, an anti-war activist. And he is, in 2008, along with his wife, he launched the LA Progressive. Their mission to provide a platform for progressive thought, opinion, and perspectives on current events. They do an amazing job of it. Dick Price, welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me to talk. My wife Sharon and I love our involvement with your show and love the times that we get to come here and say something.
Oh, yeah. Well, we love the LA Progressive. You know, you guys just really every single day serve up a rich buffet of knowledge.
Yeah, we've published every day. We published a newsletter with at least 3 to 5 to 8 articles every day for the last 18 years. It's
wow.
It's it's the way we contribute in what are increasingly difficult times. It's also a thing that Sharon and I can do together, which makes it especially nice. I mean, we sit at our desks side by side all day long, and it makes for a nice relationship.
Oh, that's wonderful. You know, sometimes, I mean, you got to really love each other, because sometimes working together is not easy, but it sounds like you guys make it look easy.
Yeah, we remark on that. We say, you know, I don't know, we're built out of a different kind of timber or something. A lot of couples would not do this, and I don't know why we can. It isn't necessarily things that we did before in our lives. But we fell into it, and we keep our spirits up, and it's good. It's good for us.
So you guys are on purpose, right? You're on your purpose.
Right.
So you are a Vietnam veteran.
Yes, I was a troubled kid. I was at an Ivy League college, not doing well, drinking a lot, which lasted for a while, and out of desperation, I volunteered to join the army, which some would say might not have been the smartest move in 1968.
Mm. But you did.
I did,
And
I
you,
did, I did, I did, and I got the basic training, and the drill sergeants ran the booze out of me, and I got my head about me, and I tried to be a good soldier, and I went to Viet Nam, and I was wounded, and the thing that really, I knew it was a crappy war, but when I got on the ground in the Mekong Delta and I saw we were out there with a bunch of farmers, rice farmers, and I'd been worked on my uncle's dairy farm in northern Minnesota, and I recognized who they were. Certainly they did a different kind of farming, and they looked different than me, but they just looked like a bunch of hard-working people doing their best to have a life. And here we were, bombing their damn villages, running our tanks through their rice fields for what was apparently no good purpose. It wasn't serving those people out in those rice fields. It probably was serving some people I didn't see, wealthy people in Saigon and so forth. And it twisted my head from the very start. I mean, I came very early at 18, 19, not to believe in my government very much, not to believe what people were telling me, or to be skeptical, which I think has stood me in good stead. I mean, so one of the hardest days I ever had was the day of shock and awe when we bombed Baghdad, and on the television screen, and all these great munitions were blowing up buildings, and the newscasters and the politicians were cheering what a wonderful thing we were doing. And I was thinking, God, did we learn nothing from Vietnam? And now we've done it with Iran too. We thought we were going to, Trump thought he was going to go drop a bunch of bombs on Tehran, and they would roll over and do what he wanted, just like we thought would happen in Baghdad. Well, Baghdad, it launched a 20-year war that decimated our country in many ways. That in Afghanistan, we don't talk about health care for all because we're spending all our money on warfare, and we're trying to do it again. And that's not by accident, because the people the money people who run the country don't want us working on social programs. They don't want equality. They may want to say the words.
Sometimes, right?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But they'd rather have a big military and 800 bases around the country, and it's just sad that we've organized ourselves that way.
When you say that the war in Iraq, for example, and Afghanistan decimated our country, what do you mean by that?
Well, on one level, I mean, I think it tore at our sense of ourselves. Here we were taking these two countries and killing how many hundreds of thousands of people. Now, true, we learned from Vietnam not to put so many of our own soldiers in harm's way. We lost 50,000 killed in Vietnam, and only something like 5,000 or 8,000 in the two 20-year wars. But we killed hundreds of thousands of local people, brown people that we don't care about. And I think that did something to our psyche. I think, too, that being at war for so long, and then now again, people are numb to it.
Yeah.
They just don't care. It's in the news so much they turn it off. Even people, even well-meaning people who want to do right things by the country, it gets to be too much.
Right. I mean, it's even hard to keep track of it all, because now we have Iran, we have Gaza, right? There's a war going in Ukraine, and that's not counting all the unofficial bombings that we do, the bombings we're doing in Africa and other parts of the globe. It's hard to even keep track of it. I mean, I read about, World War II, and it was the war effort, and it was this big thing where it was centered as an event. And I think about the Vietnam War and, the protests that went on, and in some cases, the unfair vilification of the actual soldiers who went and fought, right? Because they were either drafted or they were...
Yeah, people say about that, how the bad reception. And when I came back, I went back to New York City in the heart of the protests as a Vietnam veteran. And for a while after I came back from Vietnam, I kind of wore my old fatigue shirt. I wore being a veteran on my sleeve in respect. And now I'm a pretty big guy. But I'm pretty peaceful, and I didn't get any bad.
That wasn't your experience at all.
I had two things. One guy that on my wrestling team in high school, we came up at a gathering in Minnesota, and he spun on his heels and turned his back at me. And then at New York, my best friend in the fraternity, I called him up and tell him I was back in town, and he slammed down the phone. Those were the two bad things. On the other hand, I got lots of phone numbers. When I was a bartender. I mean, people understood,
Yeah. Well, as we should. But where I was going with that is you got these eras where these wars are a sort of a central national conversation. And now where we are now, as you say, we're so desensitized, people can't even keep track of who are we bombing, who are we at war with, and who are we sending military aid to. And it seems like it's also become a profit center for many in Washington, where we're giving money to Israel to buy weapons from us to bomb the Palestinians. It's not just that we're giving their money and they go shop at the swap meet for bombs. A lot of that money comes right back here to these big defense corporations, does it not?
Well, so one of our favorite authors, one of my favorite authors, is a lady named Andrea Mazzarino. Never met her face to face. We've interviewed her on YouTube a couple times. She's a current military wife, but she's also a therapist dealing with veterans struggling with PTSD, and she's a writer, and she's been involved in the Brown University Cost of War project. And among the things that she's told me, that we've spent $7 trillion to defense contractors since 9/11. It's hard to even know what $7 trillion means.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But what that is there's a whole industry, Dwight Eisenhower's military industrial complex, that is organized to make sure we're spending lots of money on the military. Because there's lots of money to be made. There's lots of careers to be made. And they wouldn't dream of doing away with that. I mean, we have 800 bases around the country, around the world.
Wow.
Why do we have that? Because it costs a lot of taxpayer money to support them, and the taxpayer money goes from you and I to people running Raytheon and Lockheed Martin and all the other big companies, and they're making bank. So why would they ever want to stop?
Why would they stop? $7 trillion for defense contractors since 9/11. If you think about that, it also matches with what Dr. Julianne Malveaux said, because when you talk about defense contractors, we're not counting all the other expenditures of, paying for soldiers, paying for transport, all of the other costs of war. Dick Price is here. He's the publisher of the LA Progressive.
No. Sharon is the publisher. I work for her. I'm the editor.
Oh, you're the editor.
Yeah.
Okay. The boss is in the other room.
Yeah,
we don't want to get
She's taping this.
Don't want to get you in trouble. Right. There will be a performance review. That's coming up. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
Knock, knock, Capital One Bank guy.
Wow, Charles Barkley?
I just moved into the neighborhood. Can I borrow some Wi-Fi?
Sure, Chuck. That's what the Capital One Cafe is here for. Open 7 days a week.
Oh, can I use your ATM? My dog walker only takes cash.
Anything for a neighbor.
Can I try the catchphrase?
Sure, take it for a spin.
There's no fees and minimums on Capital One checking accounts.
Nice, Chuck. I'll take it from here. Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Visit CapitalOne.com/bankguide for details. Capital One and a member FDIC.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
Originally, the project was supposed to end, I was told, October of that year, and now we're looking at 5 years later, and it still hasn't been finished. I still have no parking lot. We have to park blocks away to get to work, along with my clients with sick animals. I have elderly clients, I have handicapped clients. They have to, either suffer through, park somewhere far, and make their way to the clinic clinic with their sick animal so I can treat them, or they can choose to go somewhere else, which is more convenient. And so I think majority of people would probably choose the more convenient way. Luckily, I definitely have some clients that will still, make that trip. So it's definitely been impacting my business for 5 years. Like I said, my father, he has 3 sons, as affectionately known as the Hardy Boys. We're all veterinarians. My oldest brother has a practice in Long Beach. My middle brother has a practice in Arcadia. He instilled all his greatness in us, and so we're continuing tradition. I would definitely continue the tradition of Angeles Vista Pet Medical Center. We're on the corner of Crenshaw and Vernon. But this impact appears to be going on way too long. Something needs to be done. It has to be concluded.
Making sure they follow through. We're KBLA, Talk 1580.
The KBLA 1580 app puts the realest conversations right in your pocket. Stream live wherever you are in the world. No static. No searching the dial. A crystal clear connection 24/7, exactly when you want it. We recommend that you keep automatic updates enabled. Set it and forget it. So the app stays up to date with store requirements, bug fixes, and new features as we roll them out. Download the KBLA 1580 app today and stay plugged into the conversation everyone's having.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DePrima on First Things First.
The conversation actually never stopped. Sorry you guys didn't get to hear the part during news, traffic, and sports. Dick Price is here. He's the editor of the LA Progressive. He's a Vietnam veteran and a peace activist, dedicated, long-time peace activist. And does it seem to you right now, the current, I call him the resident because he lives in the White House.
At least one day a week.
At least one day a week, right? When he's not busy demolishing it. He campaigned on no forever wars. And I feel like we have entered a period of multiple forever wars.
Yeah, the mistake people make with the resident is they pay attention to what comes out of his mouth, because he doesn't use words to transmit information, to tell the truth. He uses it to gaslight, to manipulate, to get his way, to serve his purposes. So, I mean, the poor people that believed anything he said, he was going to bring prices way down and there would never be another war. Well, who believed that? I'm sorry that people did, but I didn't.
Yeah, well, nor did I. Fair point. Molly Bell says her brother, Lance Corporal Joseph Ray Reynolds, was killed in Vietnam in 1966. She says they got telegrams from all over. Our brother was Lance Corporal Joseph Ray Reynolds. We say his name. And she says, thanks to you, Dick Price. I'm sure you must have lost friends and...
yeah, I mean that's a thing that stuck with me. I was in combat for a while, 7 months, and I saw people get killed, guys, and I think it's part of what my wife calls my PTSD. But I can replay the loop of watching Private John Houston walk ahead of me in a file of soldiers and jump across this little irrigation ditch, just as 6 other people before him had done, only he happened to jump right on a booby-trapped artillery shell that blew him to bits right in front of me, and I can replay that.
Wow.
And it's sad. I mean, he was a good young kid from East St. Louis who kept his nose in the Bible and was doing what he thought our country asked of him. He did what our country asked of him, but our country asked him to do some damn stupid stuff.
Do you think that You talk about becoming numb to the wars themselves. Do you think that we understand the consequences of war?
I think some of us too, and I work at it because I have a heart for soldiers and what goes on. But it's it's overwhelming, and on design in the residence administration, it's to throw one thing every day, one atrocity, one stupid thing every day, so much so that you eventually, unless you're getting paid, you give up and you go on and do, you zone out on it. It's a great strategy. It's a great strategy, and it's terrible for the country. Yes, I don't think we spend nearly enough time taking responsibility for the absolute destruction of Gaza. Some would call it genocide. I
do. I mean,
okay,
the UN did, didn't they?
Yeah, you don't have to argue about the term. It is mass slaughter.
Right.
And the blood is on our hands because we paid for the bombs, we paid for the jets, we gave the authority to do that. We did. And now we're trying to do the same thing in Iran. We bomb Yemen, and there is a grave threat that Yemen may invade San Francisco. I mean. Why are we doing,
Right. The coffee, they'll invade and set up coffee shops everywhere.
Right.
Yeah, it's, I guess the reason I asked that is because hearing you talk about seeing people die, and you gave us one example, I can't imagine that it didn't profoundly change you as a human being.
Absolutely. That's why I paid. I wasn't a professional soldier, and I didn't join any veterans group, but it's in my head when these things happen. So wait a second, we're launching this, that, and the other. Well, we're putting the lives of a lot of young people in jeopardy, and we're going to spend some of those lives, and we're going to fill up. Others are going to get injured, and the chicken hawks who make the decisions in D.C., they don't care about that. They care about their career and holding on to their offices, and it's a sad way to do business.
What do you think about this? Whatever it is they're doing, they're automating the draft, automating. Well, I should say registration, like for the military service. Do you think that means anything, or it's just?
So I volunteered for the draft. If we weren't in the business of having wars all the time, we wouldn't have a draft. I actually think, some countries, Israel and Norway and Switzerland, every young person is required to devote 1 year, I think it is, to public service. It can be the military, it could be the Peace Corps, it could be something, and I think that's something to consider. I think people we're so fragmented that I think we're losing the sense that we're in the business of making America as good as we can. I don't think most people see it that way anymore. It's make my little group of people have the most power.
Yeah. Someone couldn't stay on the phone. Folks are on the way to work right now, but they asked if you have an opinion. What's your opinion about the greater Israel conflict? And I don't know if I'm assuming that they're talking about the widening scope of that conflict in the Middle East, as Israel goes after surrounding states.
Sure, with the residents okay and support, they're having their way. They are destroying their reputation, and they're trying to take over accompanying lands, and with little regard for the people that they push out of the way or
meaning
kill.
Lebanon, the West Bank,
all the different and Gaza, and all of Palestine. It's terribly sad, but the thing is, we Americans have to take responsibility because the people, whether we like it or not, that we elected to represent us, have supported that.
Right, with our money. But it seems that, at least from recent stuff that I'm reading, that U.S. public opinion is changing around Gaza and around Israel in a way that's making some corporate Democrats very, very nervous, but in a way that could, I would imagine, I hope, be consequential for where we're doling out our dollars in the future.
You would like to think so, but the people who are in favor of expanding Israel's influence have a lot of money, and they put a lot of it into a lot of campaigns, like the guy in Michigan, El Sayed. So as soon as he won his primary, AIPAC said, well, we'll put $60 million to defeat him.
$60 million?
$60 million. I mean, that's more than all the people in Michigan are going to devote. And why would they do that? Well, they don't want somebody who's going to get up there and speak for the Palestinians or say, you asked, does Israel have a right to live? Well, wait a second. Does Palestine have a right to live? Because that's the question El Sayed says we never ask.
Dick Price is with us. He's the editor of the LA Progressive. You can get it by going to laprogressive.com, right? laprogressive.com.
That's right. And please do. Sign
up. They'll send you a newsletter every day. And they're like Nipsey Hussle. They'll take what you are willing to give. Pay what you will.
Or pay nothing. We're
right.
looking for readers, and sure, to keep the lights on and the computers running, we need a few bucks, but we want people to read what the stuff we're putting out.
laprogressive.com. We'll continue the conversation after news, traffic, and sports, only right here.
You can't fix what you won't face, and we face it every day. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Illinois is strengthening protections for women and domestic violence survivors.
The first bill, Senate Bill 3325, strengthens menopause education and training so that healthcare providers can give patients the information they need to navigate a truly important stage of life.
That's Governor J.B. Pritzker, who has signed new legislation that expands orders of protection to cover digital harassment and other forms of technology-facilitated abuse. Former President Joe Biden's cancer has spread, according to his son, Hunter Biden. In an interview with the BBC, Hunter said the disease has metastasized to his father's bones and beyond, describing the condition as painful and debilitating. And the story of Michael Jackson is heading back to the big screen. Lionsgate says a sequel to the hit biopic Michael is in development, with filming expected to begin next year following the success of the first film. Get BIN News Now, on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers got a much-needed victory Monday night. They held on for a 6-5 win over the Kansas City Royals. First win at home for the Dodgers since July 30th against Seattle. The Clippers have an unofficial milestone. They signed a guy named Jamarian Sharp. At 7'5", the 24-year-old Sharp is currently the tallest player in the NBA. Sharp is an inch taller than San Antonio Spurs star Victor Wembanyama, but he is nowhere near Wembanyama's skill level. Despite his size, Sharp was not selected in the 2024 NBA draft after playing for Mississippi. That might be a hint for Clippers fans to not get too excited. Sharp was in the G League last season with the Texas Legends, the Dallas Mavericks affiliate. The Clippers signed Sharp as a free agent, which means he's not guaranteed a roster spot. He'll have to make the team in training camp and the preseason. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
You can't fix what you won't face, and we face it every day. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
What's good, KBLA delegation? I am Miles Lowe, and I'm excited to be joining the weekend lineup right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Join me every Saturday at 12 noon for the Do Better Show, where we get into the world of tech, AI, the creator economy, navigating your mental health through it all, and have conversations with founders to find out how real people are making real money right now. It's not a course, not a subscription. Class is in session every weekend, live on the air. So if you knew better, you do better, right? So let's make a better you. The Do Better Show, every Saturday, 12 noon, and replaying again at 7 p.m. right here on Unapologetically Progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We got a lot to talk.
Ooh-wee, Friday Fridays just got better. What's up? I'm Amanda Seals, and this is your invitation to come and sit with me. Yes, get seated as I do my thing on KBLA Talk 1580. We're talking noon to 2 p.m., then back again 4 to 6 p.m. Same day, same station. Bring your opinions, because you know I'm going to have mine. Bring your questions, because you know I got answers. And bring yourself, because, baby, we want you to be authentic at all times. Fridays on KBLA Talk 1580. I'll be waiting. Join me.
Ready for a weekend reset? Walk it out with me, Gina A. Towns, the artist formerly known as Gina Darby, on Reflectivity Beyond Black and White, as we seek peace, understanding, and healing beyond surface level perspectives, where reflectivity becomes our inner power and resilience to transform our lives and our communities no matter what. Meet me and my crazy cool guests. Join the Reflectivity family movement as we make sense of it all. Every bit, every morsel. We're going to nourish the mind, body, and soul unapologetically right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Every Saturday, 2 and 8 p.m. on the West Coast, 4 and 10 in the Midwest, and 5 and 11 on the East Coast. It's time for Reflectivity Beyond Black and White. It's not only hot, it's sizzling, and we're cooking.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
Women's Leadership Project is a Black feminist mentoring, civic engagement, and advocacy program. We have rallied, marched, and disrupted in front of the unaccountable Marquise Harris Dawson's office for several years now. We have gone down to City Council and City Hall and spoken truth to power to try and get resources and protection and funding for Black girls and Black women in the city, who are only 4.3% of the population in this community, yet we are disproportionately victimized by sex trafficking, sex violence, domestic violence, and intimate partner violence. We have met numerous times with the unaccountable MIA trifling Marquise and his deputies, and he has turned tail and run. We have tried to meet and give a proposal to Destination Crenshaw to step up and hold space and provide protections for our youth in the Crenshaw district area, because there are no safe youth spaces in City Council District 8 in the Crenshaw corridor.
Holding them accountable. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for Progressive Talk Radio. Be heard. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
And the LA Progressive is in the building. Dick Price is here. He's the editor. He's also an anti-war activist and a Viet Nam veteran. So many wars, so many, like you said, atrocities. An atrocity a day seems to be the formula. I think that's really well said. Meanwhile, the Secretary of Defense, a.k.a. former Fox News junior host, wants $1.5 trillion for our defense budget. And my understanding, this is the first time we've gone to $1 trillion, right?
Yeah, I think currently it's a bloated budget of $800 million, and he wants to nearly double it. He and the resident, as you call him, of course they do, for the reasons I talked about. Because where's that money going to go? It's going to go to defense contractors, oil companies.
They're friends.
Yeah, and a good part of it's going to whip back to the residents' kids, so they can get grossly wealthy.
So, I mean, I have to hope, while I was looking at this Politico article where they're saying, oh, well, he's getting pushback from some Republicans. But I feel like that's what they just were saying about the Attorney General. And now they went ahead and this Todd Blanche dude, and they went ahead and confirmed him, even though he said during the hearings that he was the president's personal lawyer, and he's acted as such.
Well, so this is a campaign. They're promoting this idea. It might fail. The idea might fail, but if they don't get enough pushback, if in the midterms not enough opposing progressive Democrats don't take seats, they'll get away with it.
They'll get the 1.5 trillion.
And the consequence is, where else could we be spending that money? We could like I mentioned, the Brown project, the cost of war project. We could have, if we weren't spending all that money on defense that we don't need to defend, we could have health care for all. We could have,
which we desperately need.
We could have free pre-care, preschool. We could have free tuitions. Like colleges in Europe, it's free to go to college. Why not here? Well, because we're this damn shining city on a hill that's got its head of its butt.
I mean, 1.5 trillion, you can do a lot with that. That's what they want for the defense budget.
Well, so part of it is, a lot of this is about Trump's ego. And so one of the things is he wants to create this new class of battleship with, the Trump class of huge battleships. Why? Because the Navy wants it? No, especially not in the day of drones. They know the day of battleships is over because they can be destroyed by drones. But he wants his huge airplane. It's all about him, the King Donald.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely giving Emperor with no clothes. But kind of where I was going is that we always hear that Republicans won't go so far as to confirm Pete Hegseth. Republicans with these lame ducks, they're pushing back on Todd Blanche. They're not going to confirm him. Boom. Hegseth is confirmed. Blanche is confirmed. Now it's, they're not going to pass the 1.5 trillion. I don't believe it. I can't understand it. A couple of these folks are lame ducks because Trump primaried them. Right? You would think they have nothing to lose. The only thing I can think of, Dick, is they got to be in the Epstein files.
No, I think
what does he have on these folks?
What he has on those senators in particular is what happens to most senators when they retire is they go over to K Street and they become lobbyists and they make big bucks, far more than they made as senator. But if they offend the emperor, they'll be out, and they won't get to do that. So that's why they're doing. So
their retirement and forever health benefits that they get for being in the Senate is not enough. They want to go grab some more big bucks off K Street, so they have to toe the line.
That's what's going on with those several that caved in at the last minute.
I mean, that's shameful. That's shameful. So
basically, there's a lot of shameful stuff going on in D.C. right now.
Yeah. Well, and it's not new. I remember my dad wrote a poem. I can't say it all. It was like a really short poem, but there's a cuss word, so I can't say the whole thing on the radio. He says the best kept secret about Congress is that most of these MFs be drunk. And I started thinking about that's the whole poem. But it's like they're having 5 martini lunches and. Yeah, like you said.
Well, some are, and I think some politicians are really trying to do the best they can. I mean, Javier Becerra was our congressman for a long time, for a quarter of a century, and then he went on to be part of the Barack Obama administration, and he was a decent public servant the whole time.
And that was, the LA Progressive endorsed him, and that was actually kind of controversial because many progressives, preferred Tom Steyer because he endorsed reparations. He had what appeared to be a boldly progressive platform.
He talked a great game, but he had never run for an office. He had made his money as the head honcho of a company, and he would govern like that. It was never about we did this. It says I did this. It's kind of like the way the resident is. What his lifetime is. He had a failing business, but it was a tiny company, and he called all the shots. And he brought that philosophy into the White House.
Right, and then he had a reality show that made it look like he wasn't a failing businessman, like he was actually quite successful. But that's what reality TV does. It creates illusions, but people bought it. So I mean,
some people. I mean, there's
enough. Right.
There's a cult that fell in line behind him. They had on the news the other day. I think Jacob Soboroff was talking to this blonde lady in Florida, who just Trump walks on water for, and I'm looking, how could you think that? I don't know.
Well, yeah, but obviously you guys were correct in the fact that he is the nominee. He was the front runner in the election, Javier Becerra, and so he will go against.
Yeah, I know
Hilton.
that was controversial, and a lot of our friends really pounded on us, and a few of us stopped contributing, and.
Wow. Was that controversial? I wasn't aware that it was that controversial.
Steyer talked a good game. He might have been a good governor, but he'd never run for dog catcher. He'd never been a city council member. Who knows what he would do? That was kind of the problem with Graham Plattner in Maine. He talked a good game too. He was a dynamic, charismatic speaker. If you ever watched him. But it was an empire built on sand. He'd never run for anything in his whole life. He'd never led any company. And a lot of what he talked about being an oyster man. Well, what he basically did is went and got oysters for his rich mom's restaurant, which is not exactly the same as being an oyster man.
Not the same.
But
as
it was
being
the same thing.
Man.
The same thing that people fell in behind him. They didn't look. Wait a second. This guy has never had an elective office. How do we know he can do that job?
Yeah. Morris Phillips says work after office is far more profitable than being in the office. It's institutionalized. Actually, I do remember Speaker Willie Brown saying that. He says it in his book, Basic Brown, but I heard him say it in person. Should have got out of politics long ago so I could start making some money, to your point. And the spook who sat behind the door says the Trump AIPAC Forever War is unwinnable and has no strategy or planning. What is the way out?
I don't know that Gaza is decimated. You say it's a genocide. I agree. But whatever else, everything is destroyed. So the people who survived are living in tents. It's kind of a fait accompli at this point. I mean, what are we going to do?
So what's the way forward? I mean, we've heard Trump say Trump Gaza. We heard Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, speculating about how it's great beachside property.
Probably is.
Made me feel sick because there's people that live there. It's giving Columbus, oh, look what I discovered.
Right.
But there's just so happens to be people here. So what is the way out? I mean, let's say we have Trump Gaza. Do we, then are we now committed to forever budget to so-called defend Israel, or defend Trump Gaza? I do think that the spook has a point in terms of what's the exit strategy. Where does it end?
Well, the alternative is for a different set of people be running the U.S. government and go in and spend this money that we're spending on all these 800 military bases and rebuild Gaza for the Palestinians.
There you go. For the Palestinians, not Trump Gaza, but the kind of reparation that we did after World War II or other places.
The Marshall Plan. Yeah.
Right, like a Marshall Plan for Gaza. Yogi Fish says Obama and Clinton both dropped bombs on Africa. Let's not forget the drones. Progressives never condemn them. I guess you haven't been listening to me long enough, Yogi Fish. I think that the drone and war campaigns and let's not forget Biden as well is something that those of us who are progressives for peace do.
I talked about the military-industrial complex, which is huge and far-reaching, a far-reaching octopus. Yes, it grabs Democrats as well as Republicans, and party faithful among the Democrats should be ashamed of that, and they should fight against it, and they should have different people who don't believe that kind of philosophy. Yes, we got 800 bases around the world, and if the only tool you have is a hammer, well, everything looks like a nail. So it's easy to go bomb Yemen and various countries in Africa that we don't even hear about. Pretty sad.
Let's go to Dwight calling us from the city of Compton. Good morning, Dwight. You're on with Dick Price.
Good morning, Dominique.
Welcome.
Good morning, Hotep Peace. Good morning, KBLA family. Dick, I just want to thank you and your wife for your great newsletter. I signed up for it when you a while back, and I want to thank you for informing the people of why these Republicans are going along. That even though Trump got them out of office, they get $5 million as lobbyists because they have floor access. So you think if we ended the floor access for retired senators, that would do away with some of the problems of them going along with trying to go along just to get along so they can get access on the back end when they retire. And thank you so much for exposing the racism and the it's so obvious because Republicans claim they don't like immigrants. President Trump is married to an immigrant. Trump's mother was an immigrant, and his grandfather was an immigrant. So it's so obvious it's all based on greed and racism. So thank you, Dick, for all the great work you and your wife are doing with the LA Progressive. And I ask everybody just sign up for the newsletter. Thank you, Dominique.
I appreciate the kind words. Thank you so much. Yes, you're right. That the step you recommended for the Senate to deny floor access would be one of a long series of reforms that we need to enforce on our government, on the people who represent us, who seem to go to Washington or Sacramento and forget that they're representing us, and they end up representing themselves and their fat cat buddies.
800-920-1580 if you want to weigh in, 800-920-1580. Dick Price is here. He's the editor of the LA Progressive. I'm Dominique DePrima, and you know where you are.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You've still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight illnesses like pneumococcal pneumonia and RSV. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and can help protect you from getting really sick. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. See more at PfizerForAll.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
When I hit my 50s, I felt like things were slowing down.
This is Sandra's Metamucil story.
I started taking Metamucil for digestion, but had no idea it would impact so much more. Not only did Metamucil help me feel more regular, but my heart health saw the benefits too.
Metamucil, one simple routine, 4 health benefits. Digestive health starts here. Go to metamucil.com for more details.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
I actually live on this block, and it has affected my life because I'm a knock nurse. We have everyone coming over here that's on meth, drugs, and everything. I've called multiple times to Los Angeles County about once you leave out of here, you will see once you go down to this stop sign, it's pitch black. There's no lights over here.
No lights?
No lights on this side or that side. You have people with mental issues throwing these gates to Crenshaw. Children don't like to come outside anymore on their scooters, their bikes, their helmets, and they're speeding up and down. No regards to life at all. Like I said, I leave out of work. I'm a traveling nurse, so I take my contracts in Los Angeles County, but I may have to go to Montebello. I may have to go to Van Nuys. I leave out at 9:45 sometimes sooner, and it's someone breaking into our mailboxes because they're breaking into our mailboxes.
So now the mail's not coming to
Yeah,
someone.
breaking your windows in your vehicles, and it's just really sad.
Holding them accountable. We're KBLA, Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach.
Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. At the heart of the Al Wooten Center's mission for good citizenship and academic excellence is a desire to ensure that every student avoids the kind of lifestyle and overcomes the kinds of challenges that led to the murder of Al Wooten Jr. In 1990, founder Myrtle Fay Rumpf opened the center in honor of her son's life. In 2026, they are serving more than 300 students in grades 3 through 12 annually online and on site at their youth center and other sites in the South LA area. The Al Wooten Jr. Youth Center takes a neighborhood approach to the revitalization and empowerment of the community in crisis. The Wooten Center provides free after-school and summer programs to help students in grades 3 through 12 attain grade-level proficiency and promotion, high school graduation, and college and career access and success. The Al Wooten Center focuses on academics, STEM, the arts, and so much more. Join them for an enriching experience that sparks creativity and nurtures young minds. Tap in at WootenCenter.org. That's WootenCenter.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Heard any other talk radio lately that sounds anything like this? We didn't think so. You're listening to Unapologetically Progressive, KBLA Talk 1580.
Okay, Dick Price is here. He's the editor of LA Progressive. LAProgressive.com is where you can sign up. He founded that 18 years ago with his wife, who's in the other room, Sharon Kyle. We got a lot of people that want to talk to you on the phone, so I'm going to go to the phones shortly. But I want to make sure we don't skip over this. You are also a Vietnam vet, we were talking a little off the air about the state of the VA, the Veterans Hospital.
Yeah, so my experience is right after Vietnam, the newspapers and television shows were full of horrible stories about the terrible care being given at the VA hospitals. It was a national scandal, and it was because those hospitals were overwhelmed by the huge numbers of badly injured Vietnam veterans. So recently, in the last couple of years, I found out that I could get free dental care through the VA, and I hadn't gone there for forever. I'd had long care with a well-known large HMO and was very happy about my service there. Very grateful they'd solved my throat cancer. When we went out to the VA with Sharon, and indeed I got my dental care, but also there was a physician's assistant who very friendly and said, well, do you want to check this thing that's wrong with you and that thing's is wrong with you? And subsequently I had maybe a dozen visits with all kinds of different specialties, and that's fine, but the difference is the spirit of at the VA hospital with the guards, the nurses, the clerks, and the doctors is we're all in it together. It did feel like a family. And I'm glad to make that long drive all the way over to West LA. It's remarkable, and if it hadn't been for this dental care, I never would have done it.
Yeah, well, it's a really good point, and I hope that the many veterans, and by the way, if I didn't say it, thank you for your service. The many veterans that listen will, if they haven't taken advantage, many I learned from my friend Attorney Zoran Basic are eligible for benefits, cash benefits that they don't get, health benefits that they don't get, and you have earned them, so it's worth looking into.
Yeah, one thing we found over the years is there's a lot of benefits to veterans, but the various veterans organizations are not real good at letting you know about it.
Yeah.
And the one example I have with that is when I was running a bunch of magazines, we got a new editor in, and we made fun of the school she went to out in the desert, just as a way to break her in. And she said, well, at least I went for free. And I said, why? Was it because my dad was a disabled Vietnam veteran? And I'm a disabled Vietnam veteran. And I had a daughter who was headed toward college. And then I found out, indeed, the California Veterans Organization paid my daughter's tuition through UC out in the desert, anyway, where she went to school.
Riverside.
Riverside,
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we're tight on time, but let's get to Shayon. I know he can give me the short version. Hi, Shayon. Shayon, you with me?
Yes, I'm here. Let me get a shout out to the Long Beach VA. And one had a massive heart attack in the VA in Long Beach. Checked himself in, wasn't feeling well, had a massive coronary right there. He was flatlined for 30 minutes. But Dr. Jordan and the VA staff in Long Beach, California, worked on him, got him back. Swear to God, walking around right now.
That's nice. That's a nice story.
Minutes.
I love that story, Shayon.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, yeah. But I wanted to say, you mentioned a Marshall Plan for Gaza. But we need a Marshall Plan right here in our inner cities across the United States in exchange for our vote for 2028, actually the midterms and 2028. That need to be part of the Democratic platform in order to get our vote, in exchange for our vote. Another thing I wanted to mention really quick, the short version, our Congressional Black Caucus members are not saying anything about all these lynchings that's taking place in Mississippi.
Yeah.
So I'm with you all the way up and down the line. I think we do need a Marshall Plan to address the rot at the soul of America, which is racism. And there's a whole series of steps that come through the California Reparations Task Force that could begin to address that. And instead of spending $1.5 trillion wasting it the way we've talked about, we could have, college could be free for all black kids. Reparations could be made in a variety of ways. Housing and education and health care. And it is what we should be doing.
Well, the clock is having its way with us, Dick Price. Shayon, thank you so much. I appreciate you and the work of the LA Progressive. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Okay, thanks for inviting me. Thank you.
It is Miles's birthday. It is hip hop's birthday. We are talking hip hop. Ural B is here, Miles Lowe is here, and I'm here. Got a lot to talk about. KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Illinois is strengthening protections for women and domestic violence survivors.
The first bill, Senate Bill 3325, strengthens menopause education and training so that healthcare providers can give patients the information they need to navigate a truly important stage of life.
That's Governor J.B. Pritzker, who has signed new legislation that expands orders of protection to cover digital harassment and other forms of technology-facilitated abuse. Former President Joe Biden's cancer has spread, according to his son Hunter Biden. In an interview with the BBC, Hunter said the disease has metastasized to his father's bones and beyond, describing the condition as painful and debilitating. And the story of Michael Jackson is heading back to the big screen. Lionsgate says a sequel to the hit